Okay, this is episode 2 in our series on Constantine and Paul, and we're digging in to prove the fraud involving Constantine. And one of the ways to approach this is to get a little more in-depth understanding of Mithras worship of Sol Invictus. And you won't know exactly why now, but basically this is a cult that believed in a son of God who was himself God and was the god of the sun up in the sky. And this is going to be the god of Constantine, his true god. The same god of Mithras is the same god he is worshiping, and he's also called Sol Invictus Mithras. And this is going to come out in this archaeological article. And also the way this archaeological article fell in my hands is going to be discussed in the next video. And it will help us, as you see here in this heading, it's entitled Eerily Similar to the RCC, meaning the Roman Catholic Church. And so I want you to understand, there was no Roman Catholic Church as we know it when Constantine came in. He completely changed it from everything. And we don't understand that. But when you see what the Mithras cult was about, and its use of priests who were fathers, pater was in Latin father, and you're going to see this is going on, since the 270s, okay, 180s, 270s. This is a problem that it's created a very popular movement, and there's it's spread from region to region through what they call their traveling founders. They have people who had found new locations at different places and so on. Anyway, so it's a very interesting archaeological article. And I just stumbled across it. I opened up to the right page, and there it was. So I hope you find it informative, and it will help prepare you. You may not see it now. It will help prepare you to understand why the Roman Catholic Church is the way it is, and what was Constantine, what was he really taking with him. This is the baggage he was taking with him and using to change the Christian, what was a Christian organization probably. It's hard to know anymore, but because it's been so transformed and from the top to the bottom. But it was what you're going to see here is the cult that was the Roman Catholic Church was being turned into this cult, but using all the same names and all the same structures, and they became powerless because Constantine had so much dictatorial power over them. Okay, so anyway, here we go. I hope you'll find it helpful to understand what history is about and what's the reason for why we are where we are. Okay, so one day in 2019, I'm at the University of California Library in Irvine. I'm just finishing up doing other research, and I'm putting books away. And there's an area that they collect books randomly that other people have been reading at these particular tables, and then they're put on these little carts that they're going to be taken back to wherever they belong. And as I might sometimes do, just serendipitously, I'll just pick up a journal that looks interesting, and I have no idea what's in the contents, and this is the journal I pick up. And you tell me if God didn't design this, and then just coincidentally, for not for my benefit, but for all your benefit, this is going to show me things I had not understood before, and it's going to show you the origin of where the word father comes from in Roman Catholicism. And that's another thing. It's just, why would Christian men ever allow themselves to be called father? And it is actually what they are called, and there's a reason for it, as we'll see from this article. So let's first get the reference here. It's the Journal of Roman Archaeology, volume 32 from 2019. And let me see here. International Journal. You can see the letters, the call letters, if you want to go there and look at it yourself. DG11, J68, Volume 32, 2019, Part 1. And it was received at UC Irvine in October of 2019. Here's you can see these are professional people who spend their lives doing this. It's the journal is abbreviated JRA for those who want to use that, and to refer to what I'm referring to here. It's got a journal homepage called Journal of Roman arch.com, so you could definitely find it that way in the future if you want to double check this, because it's going to rock your world in a sense of being shocking to anyone who has certain belief systems about Roman Catholicism. Okay, so I'm just going to let it go page by page and go back. Here's the name of the title. So, I'm thumbing through. I don't remember if I saw it in the index or by thumbing through. I think I was just thumbing through, just looking at pictures. It has pictures of archaeological digs and all this kind of interesting stuff. And then, and I knew something about Roman Mithraism might have something to do with it, but I did not know they worshipped Sol Invictus. And that's what's going to be the shocking thing in the middle of this article. I just thought they worshipped something called Mithras, and that's not what they are about. And so this is important because you're going to learn a connection to the Arch of Constantine about the Mithras priests, which wear what are called Phrygian hats. They're little red hats. And what do they worship is revealed in this article when we're dealing with that. So anyway, the title of this article is The Archaeology of Ancient Cult, From Foundation Deposits to Religion in Roman Mithraism, by Matthew McCarty, Mariana Egri, and Aurel Rostois. Okay, so I pretty much have everything marked that I want to show you, but we'll move down the page. This starts at page 32. And the first thing I mark is the nature. Okay, so they're talking about what they know of Mithraism, the nature of the training. Okay, so they're talking about being a Mithric leader. The nature nature of that training might have been abstract, teaching participants what they would do if they were ever to found a Mithraeum. So this is how to start a new, what you call church, they would call a Mithraeum. It is nearly certain that most worshippers of Mithras did receive some sort of education in things Mithraic as they ascended through various initiatory grades. So this is almost like a modern Freemason association, okay, where you have grades of passage, but you also have the same idea in Catholicism. When you're a young person, you're going to go through confirmation. I went through confirmation as a Roman Catholic when I was a child. I'm not Roman Catholic. I haven't been since 15 years old. So I became a Protestant then, but I'm just saying, if you've been a Roman Catholic as a child, you've learned these ideas of steps or grades, and that's the first grade you have to get through, is being confirmed, and you have to study in order to pass. So that these teachings involve deeper understandings of esoteric postulates, savoir penser, I guess that means to know certain thoughts. Further evidence that education and initiation did not routinely involve formal ritual training comes from the way the priestly title sacerdos is distinguished from grades of initiation. So I want you to understand they had something called the priest, because this priest is going to have two titles. And you're going to see what the next title is in just a second. Sacerdos is just like if you called a priest at a Roman Catholic church, you call him sacerdote. In Spanish, Italian, it'd be similar. Okay, so what are we going to find out? They notice that there's occasional epigraphic pairings like pater et sacerdos, father and priest. This is what they're noticing in the archaeological digs, or looking at documents, or not documents, but more like things that are in stone. And this is what they've noticed, is these pairings of the word pater, which means father, and sacerdos, priest. And they're going to tell you what they concluded what they are. Presume that these positions, and they're dating, if I recollect how they did this, is they were dating these particular discoveries to about 200 AD. So this is about 140 years before Constantine becomes this leader who's going to basically transform Roman Catholicism into something. You're going to, as I'm reading this, you're going to see where it's coming from, okay? You're just going to know exactly where it came from. Okay. So they're going to see occasional epigraphic pairings like pater and sacerdotis. Presume that these positions could be separable. So when you first see it, you think they could be separable, meaning the pater could be somebody different from the sacerdos, so the priest and the pater might be separate. It's possible. Though no other grade besides pater is ever adjoined to sacerdos in a title. So that actually goes against that idea. So anytime they refer to a sacerdos, they're always called a pater, and vice versa. pater and sacerdos. So they appear to go hand in hand. They're not two different people. They're the same person. That's what they're saying. That's what it appears. Suggesting that the ritual expertise of a sacerdos was reserved for those at the highest levels of the cult. So again, the word pater would suggest the highest level. You can't, there's really not a level higher than father, right? So that's the idea. So you'd come to the position of priest and you become a pater. You'd be initiated as a pater. Okay. Now let me just see if there's anything I want to read here. Although M. Klaus, in a German article, argues that the grades are actually priestly positions into which only a small number of worshippers sought initiation. I can't read what's there. Okay, it's the article called Ritual and Hierarchy and the Mysteries of Mithras. Demonstrates the unlikelihood of this idea based primarily on the evidence for frequent initiations in the Dura Europos graffiti. And then somebody else, Klaus, argues that the terms like pater, antistes, and sacerdos are synonyms. Okay. Okay, and then somebody's arguing problems with the view. This is all probably proper scholars. They're trying to see is it the same person or is it different? But the consensus seems to be that they're always used in conjunction with each other, and they seem to be. I mean, let's just use common sense. You know what's coming in just 100 years later. You're going to see Roman Catholicism imposed on Christianity, where we now have priests. We didn't have them before, Christians. And you're going to have paters. We didn't have them before, for sure, because that violates our Jesus's words. So you know this step is coming. They know the step is coming, but they're being neutral, and they're just saying, you know, that we see these terms are conjoined. Some people argue they're not always conjoined, and or they're not necessarily the same person. And so they're having a little debate there. And I find that that's all well and good, because they can't say Roman Catholicism proves what the answer here is. But in your or my view, we can use some common sense and see that's what's coming up. It is improbable that most Mithras worshippers learned in abstract way the rites involved in founding a Mithraeum. This sort of technical knowledge was reserved for very few. So they're really more concerned, how would you start a new Mithraeum? And if you read the whole article, they've come across something where somebody is talking about the Mithraic priest, sacerdos, dies, and now they need to send someone new, and it's a pater sacerdos who comes there. Okay, so this is the documentation they're looking at, and now they're trying to ask the question, does that mean you could be a sacerdos but not a pater, and so on? And they're saying they always seem to be conjoined when they're talked about. So the pater is never talked about separate from a sacerdos. So maybe what it could be is only a sacerdos could be called a pater, a father. Okay, let's just read what else is here and that I've underlined. That leaves a small group of experts trained with skills to found the Mithraeum, and with limited numbers capable of founding for teaching others to found the Mithraeum. It seems most probable that the rapid spread of this rite across a large geographic expanse is attributable to mobile ritual experts. So now they're saying these pater sacerdoses could move across the whole land. And notice what they're also telling you, these Mithraic churches. I shouldn't call them churches yet. That's what they're going to be called later, is what I'm getting at. They're called Mithraeum in this article. They are growing and growing fast throughout all of Europe, in particularly the Roman Empire, and we'll see mostly in the Roman military. And that's why Constantine is exposed to it, and it's also something his men would want him to belong to, because many of these people who are giving their lives for the emperor want to believe he is a god. So you have to understand, hero worship in the military is almost a natural phenomenon. You know, you don't want to be following a Patton into death because he's a bad leader, or you don't, admire Patton. So they end up thinking very high thoughts of these people. Or Douglas MacArthur, he was considered a hero to the men who served under him or wanted to go serve and volunteer. My dad volunteered for the Korean War, so he could be serving under Douglas MacArthur, believe it or not. That's why I'm Doug. Okay, so I don't want to say my dad worshipped this man, but he looked up to him in a very high level. So this is normal behavior of the military, and this is why Constantine liked this religion. It was in his military. It was predominant in his military, not Christianity, this religion. But Christianity was growing. And he was finding, you're going to see, he sees a strategic advantage to co-opting it, basically infiltrating it with a system that would be under his control and his familiarity with people who think like him and know this is truly okay. I'm not going to say I have conjectures. Okay, I have my own conjectures of whether all these priests that he brought in there and put them on a payroll were really doing it because they believed in Christianity, or were they mostly from his Mithraic temple systems. Different question, I guess, and it's speculation. I don't know. So I'm not going to go there, but that's my speculation. I'll share it, though. Anyway, so I think we're kind of getting to it. So they're going to actually go into this documentation. They found the album of members of Mithraic community at Virunum seems to record in different hands the changing annual composition of the community between AD 183 and 201. So we're talking about 120 years before this is going to be imposed on Christianity. We're going to have the same sacerdotes et pater et sacerdotes, when 5 members, including 2 named as patres, see, the fathers, died within a year, 183, 184, a new member, Trebius Alphus, labeled as a pater, joined the community. Though careful analysis of the paleography and layout of the inscription, G. Pecotini argued that Alpheus must have been a pater from elsewhere, brought in by the Virunum community to fill their leadership lacuna, the gap in their leadership. So this is that they're trying to establish from these documentations, what is the importance that you're a pater? Why can you move from location to location? Because you must be considered the highest level initiate. And the only subsidiary question is, were you also considered a priest? Well, it seems obvious you had to at least have been a priest to get to the level of pater, if that is, in fact, a separate level from the sacerdotes. And it's possible, if you even studied Catholic orders, that you arguably maybe go to the level of priest and then you become a father. But I don't want to discuss Roman Catholicism. But here we don't know. Are they one and the same always, or is it a level of sacerdotes or priest is a level to get to father? So that's the only question they're having. They're not sure. Okay, so but now they're really, I think they're establishing to their satisfaction that they're definitely, the pater would be someone who would come to a community after a pater who's been there, leading them, dies, and now they need a new pater to help re-stimulate the group and maybe appoint a new pater, train someone to be the new leader of the group. Okay, so there's a lot of things going on here, and so they even refer to what I'm talking about. While drawing parallels between Mithraism and Christianity is always a fraught endeavor, mobile experts circulating among Christ-focused communities are best attested there from the 1st century AD. Okay, G. Thiessen saw Christianity as a cult of wandering charismatics. So there is already a parallel between Christianity and Mithraism, because remember, we're in existence too. In the very same time period they're doing what they're doing, we are wandering. We don't have yet priests, and we don't yet have fathers, but we have wandering people who are trying to evangelize in different communities. So there's an overlap of appearances, so to speak. And let's go a little bit further here. All right, I'm going to just stop here because I want to just break this up. And we've been 15 minutes, so I'm probably going to just do a little bit more on this article, and then we'll break, and we'll have another episode. And each one of these is got a lot of meat to them, and I think they're you can see it's important to you yourself are seeing something that is very freaky that I saw just by a happenstance. And so just think about that again. I mean, this is, well, you haven't seen the whole picture yet, so let's go to the next thing, and you're going to see the real shocker that I was shocked with. This is up to this point, I never thought that Christian fathers came from Mithraism. Now I'm convinced that's important, but wait till you see the next thing. Well, you can see it on the page, but I'm going to hold it off till the next slide. Okay, so now we're going to go take a look at this part where they talk about Sol Invictus. So this is a definite important fact, is at this Apulum location, they find that this is inscribed to be dedicated to the Mithraic deities of Sol Invictus Mithras. Okay, so that's something I did not know before I picked up this article. So that to me is a huge fact. This is who the Mithraic temples are worshiping. And of course, they have some other gods. I mean, there's not one god, can't have just one god. Cotopates and Transitus Dei. But clearly it's got Sol Invictus, and that's who's on this coinage beginning in 308 AD, with Constantine having it done with his name on one side, and the other side it had Sol Invictus, and it said in each of these he's a friend. So 308 AD to 318, was it 318? I can't remember now. But anyway, so his affiliation, who he wanted people to associate him with, is Sol Invictus. And so this would make him appealing to who? The Mithraic culture. Maybe we'd have to conclude probably while he's in the military, he's going to a Mithraic temple or visiting with the men in the Mithraic meetings. And these are, by the way, kind of intended to be secret meetings, just so you know, like you wouldn't talk about it. There's really no writings. This group didn't leave a lot of writings behind. So you have these inscriptions and stone tablets and notations and things like that, but they didn't have like doctrinal books and all that kind of stuff. So they just didn't leave a lot of things to find out, like Christianity did, about what they believed in and what they were doing. And all right, so anyway, that's the end of this episode. So we're going to get into the next episode, where we're now going to show you the proof of really who Constantine attributed the victory at Milvian Bridge was not Jesus Christ. He built a Constantine arch dedicated to his victory. Was there any reference to Christianity or Christ or anything like that? Or was he referring to the Mithraic priests in any fashion, way, or form? Okay? Was he... And so is it like and that's put into stone. The Christians can't be fooled. They can get out and walk around Rome and see, hey, this is his arch saying how I beat the guy Mencius at the Milvian Bridge. It depicts the actual battle on the side. The relief shows the opponent being drowned in the river. And this is a scene right out of the Battle of Milvian Bridge. And you see Milvian Bridge, and you see the other opponents being drowned in the water under Milvian Bridge. You cannot deny that's what this monument was about. And there's nothing at all about Christ, but there's a lot about the Mithraic priests. There's a lot about the god of the sun. There's attributing the victory to the god of the sun. There's a couple of other gods, too. The Mithraic cult is not an exclusive one-god system, but the god with the highest position you're going to see is the god of the sun. All right. Anyway, I hope this is helpful. And by the way, history is important for figuring this out, because what's the most influential religion in Christianity? It's Roman Catholicism. Where did it come from? Well, you're going to find out where it came from. Is it what we were all told, that Constantine was a wonderful Christian? It's still being perpetuated. You will read history book after history book that purports from Protestant Christianity or Roman Catholicism that Constantine was a wonderful Christian person. He is a complete fraud by the most obvious evidence. There's not even a close question, because of these dates, because of these documents, because of these coins, and because there's no evidence that he was a Christian before he wanted to have us meet him, and he's going to impose on us. And that's really the fact. I'm going to show you next. We're going to take a few minutes just to look at the Pope never agreed to the Council of Nicaea, and then we're going to get into a video on Constantine and what he really believed, so you can see it with your own eyes, the documentation, the physical review of the Arch of Constantine done by Simca in a documentary that's just will floor you. So anyway, hold on, and thanks for watching, and we'll be back with you in another episode soon. Ciao. Bye.